Transfer portal is shut, and Alabama trying to add players. Could they add a QB4? Could there be a fourth quarterback on the horizon for Alabama? They did have 4 a year ago, and a lot of teams like to carry 4. What would that look like for the Crimson Tide? How about recruiting? Kalen DeBoer and company, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, around the perimeter of Tuscaloosa, trying to get those players and take care of business there. And snow, you guys are getting snow. Everybody just get the sleds out. Let's have a winter weather mix show. Many of you in the state of Alabama have had classes or work canceled, so enjoy it. Cabin Fever. This is the Cabin Fever break show right here on the Bama Tailgate YouTube channel. Like, subscribe, thumbs up. Let's go. Hey, say guys, Mick Gillespie, Bama Tailgate YouTube channel. Thank you for being here. Show's brought to you by Pearl River Resort. All right, let's get into it right away. Is there a fourth quarterback on the horizon? Dylan Lonergan transferred out. He's going to be a starting quarterback at another school. And then Jalen Milrose going to the NFL. You brought in Keelan Russell. Hey, that's great. But a lot of times you want to have backups. I mean, remember the year where Alabama just kept getting guys hurt and another guy hurt and another guy hurt and another guy hurt, and we didn't have anybody. That's not it doesn't happen a lot, but it could happen. And so having depth at the quarterback spot is really important. 4 quarterbacks that you can trust and play, it's rare, but you got a scholarship. Are you going to use it? And I think a lot of us are kind of going, hey, is this something that we'll see? I don't look at Alabama saying, hey, Carson Beck, you're transferring from Georgia, come over here. And I want to talk about that situation in a second, but I'm just saying, I don't know that they'll go out and give a scholarship to a quarterback, but I could see a guy from a school that played, that it probably just wants to see what it's like to be at a big time program, coming in and being a backup quarterback, and then maybe in a situation where you're desperately in need, you bring him in. But probably Ty Simpson, Austin Mack, and Keelan Russell will be your 3. And then we'll see maybe about a 4th guy. But having 3 quarterbacks is good. I mean, in the NFL, it'd be great. But in college, you never know. So, something that I kind of wanted to talk about. I know that you guys are kind of getting into that on the message board. Now, Carson Beck, this is surprising to me. And I wanted to talk about this. Carson Beck is the Georgia starting quarterback. I mean, he is Mr. Georgia, right? After replacing Stetson Bennett, was in there, obviously got hurt after, playing a really good game in the SEC championship. Or maybe not good, but a good enough game in the SEC championship. And then, then Gunnar Stockton came in, and then Gunnar Stockton, did enough to win the game. And then Gunnar Stockton didn't score a touchdown in the game against Notre Dame, right? And it's still going to be Gunnar Stockton's team, I guess, right? Or would it be Carson Beck's who declared for the NFL draft? But then all of a sudden it was like, hey, I'm also going into the transfer portal. Now, I don't expect Carson Beck to be in college next year. I just don't. I think that what he's doing is he's trying to evaluate his value. And that is kind of where we are right now in the world of college football, where guys want to know what their value is. Like, how valuable am I? How much money can I make? If I get drafted in the 2nd round or I go play football at Miami, what's going to pay me more? And being a starting quarterback with the experience that he brings to the table in a college, in a college program that's got money, I mean, that could be $2, $3, $4 million. And then, you go back into the draft the next year and, maybe you're taking away your ability to handle business in the NFL, but money wise, it could be, a good move. And so I think it's interesting. I was talking to Jay Coker on our podcast, Elephant in the Room on Cover Crimson, and he was surprisingly opinionated on this. And I say surprisingly opinionated. It's just that he's a guy that really thinks about when he makes comments about players and making decisions and understands the business aspect of what you do in college. And he's been in that spot, right? He did Florida State, graduated, got to come to Alabama and play a couple of years for the Crimson Tide, won a national championship. And there's a pride that you have as a starting quarterback that if you go back and watch that show, you'll see in his eyes. Like, I don't think that it's, no matter what the money is, it's fathomable to him to walk away from your program when you're the starting quarterback, because there's something that you have as a starting quarterback for a college team like Alabama, like Georgia, and that is respect. You're the face of the program. You're the guy. And I could tell that it really was shocking to him to see Carson Beck put his name in the transfer portal. And then to me, I'm just thinking, look, it's a business decision. He's not going to Miami. I think it could also be to help negotiate or bring up his stock value in the NFL draft too, because, hey, look, if you don't want me, I'm going to Miami, or I'll go back to Georgia or whatever. So I can understand the business aspect of it. And he mentioned that too, just saying, hey, this kind of reminds me of something that you would see with like an agent like Jimmy Sexton or whatever. But interesting. And we'll see what happens. If he ends up going to another college and not Georgia, I'd be shocked by that. But you know what? Nothing surprises me too much these days in college football. The other thing I wanted to talk about, and I do want to get into a little bit of basketball today, and I want to remind you guys as you hang out with us that our buddy Catfish, Chad Anderson, does the Catfish Courtside show after every basketball game. And then the bracketology show that we put on. So please watch that. Check that out. And, we appreciate him so much. This guy, when he was in college at Alabama, he was on the college radio station, and he and our other friend Ben, they followed Bama all the way to the Elite Eight. They were doing the games like on court, like the college radio station. So that's pretty cool. He's always loved the basketball team, and he's got a lot of knowledge about hoops. So check out his show if you haven't watched it yet. And we really appreciate him doing that. Really. I love the show, and I love him. And I hope you guys do too. Bama is out there right now trying to see what they can do as far as recruiting goes. And Bama Online does a great job. Our friend Andrew Bones, the best in the business as far as covering recruiting. But it's so cool to see when guys that love the program get an opportunity at a scholarship. And Kamhariyan Johnson, one of those guys from Muscle Shoals High School, big dude. I'm sure he's like buried in snow like everybody else up there right now. But to hear about his offer from Alabama, and to think like it doesn't matter if Nick Saban is the head coach, if it's Gene Stallings, if it's Mike Dubose, if it's Mike Shula, if it's Mike Price, if it's Mike anybody, it's still Alabama. And as much as I respect and appreciate Coach Saban, Alabama was Alabama before Coach Saban. It was a perfect storm when we got Coach Saban to Alabama, and it's still Alabama even with him on ESPN, right? And it's just fun to know and to hear about guys who grew up Alabama fans knowing that they have a chance to go play football at Alabama. And I honestly, I really love to hear about those stories and guys that love the Crimson Tide and grew up watching them and cheer for them, and know that we have a chance to get them in Tuscaloosa. And the thing that Coach DeBoer and his guys have to do is they need to make sure that those players stay in state and go to Alabama. And whether that's managing the NIL, getting money to have those guys in, and making it a fun place to go to school, making it a contender for a championship, which I don't think that's going to change at all. They just got to continue to do that. So anyway, DeBoer and his crew are going across Alabama, Mississippi, and the Georgia places, to basically just recruit and really pound the perimeter. They did a fantastic job of building their last recruiting class, but a lot of those relationships were from when they were at Washington and Fresno State. Now it's, hey, let's keep those blue star guys, the 4 and 5 stars from other places, but let's make sure that we build those relationships in our backyard. And I think they're really concentrating on that. I know that's something that Courtney Morgan knows, their GM of recruiting and the coaching staff. So I give them a lot of kudos for not only doing it, but making it known that they're doing that. And good things are going to come from that. All right, the last thing I want to say is this, and as I mentioned before, Catfish did a great job talking about Bama basketball. I loved watching Alabama beat the crap out of Nick Pringle and South Carolina. I mean, Pringle on suspended, not suspended, not suspended. Talented guy, but was a headache for that team last year. We saw the best of him in the postseason, and we know he's a good player, but it was great. It was great watching Holloway when they brought all those guys in off the bench just go nuts. It was amazing watching Mark Sears at the beginning of the game. That Mark Sears that we saw at the beginning of the game, whether he was scoring, whether he was dishing the ball off, was as good of a Bama player in a stretch that I can ever remember. I mean, like, that is what it's supposed to look like. And if he can if he put a full game of that together, oh my goodness, man. If he could do that continuously, he'd be one of the top picks in the draft. And I think he's going to go in the draft anyway. But a big win on the road. This team's rolling right now. They looked so focused. Playing on the road in the SEC, I know it's just South Carolina and Bama's owned them lately, but that's a good way of getting things going. And the schedule's about to get tough with all these ranked teams. I still feel like Bama is the best team in the SEC, and I can't wait to watch their next game. So roll tide to them. And again, we'll be covering it with Catfish Courtside, so check that out. All right. Show's brought to you by Pearl River Resort over in Philadelphia, Mississippi. Make sure that you guys take advantage of the deal that they're offering right now. Go to the sports book, pay $50, and then you can play Dancing Rabbit Golf Course for $40. Well, Mick, there's snow on the ground. Look, there isn't going to be snow on the ground here long. You're going to want to golf. But they also have table games and slots. They have the spa. They've got the water park during the summertime and great concerts. And they're a great partner of ours. And then finally, I talk about this every day, and I'm going to talk about it again today, and that's pimping out your man cave. Do it the right way with New Life Art, and take advantage of our 20% off deal, right? Promo code Bama Tailgate, 20% off all the classics, just not the new releases, everything, the mugs and calendars and the Bear Bryant picture and then the Gene Stallings picture and the Saban picture and this one right here. And anything that they have, 20% off. Take advantage of it. Even the canvases, the big stuff at newlifeart.com. Thanks for hanging out with us, guys, and have a safe day. If you don't know how to drive in the snow, stay off the roads. Yeah, for all of our sakes, yours and mine. Roll Tide.
To Pearl River Resort.